Quilty is brought to you by
Baby Lock. Baby Lock sewing and long arm machines. From piecing to long arming for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread. Perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Dear Stella. A unique fabric brand with modern style. Fairfield. Together, we can make beautiful things. Hovels Sewing. Cut to the point with Hovels Sewing. Moda. Make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Northcott. Cottons that feel like silk. Omnigrid. Providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years. Hello, thanks for watching Quilty. I'm glad you joined us today, us being me, because we are going to talk about a hot trend. There's a hot trend right now in the quilt world, and it is sashiko stitching, or hand stitching with a kantha style, okay? If you can take a look at this sample I have before me, we're talking about big stitches done by hand with thick thread. And the sashiko stitching in Japan is a very popular, very old style of hand quilting, or, you know, putting layers together, putting layers of cloth together. It's a darling stitch. I mean, there's sort of no other way to describe it, but it's adorable. And it's also very hardy, and it's done by hand. We also can do it by a machine. And so the other part of the show is we're going to show you how the sashiko baby lock machine can do it really beautifully mechanically. But this part of the show is to show you how to do it by hand. Okay, so you need a few tools to do this kantha style, this sashiko style. A needle threader, something like that, is extremely helpful because you're using thick thread that you need to get through a very small needle hole. So that's good to have. This thick thread we're talking about, this is a great Aurifil thread. I have a couple different colors here. It's basically like embroidery floss, and you could use embroidery floss for this. There's also sashiko like thread, like specific that for that. But the point is that it's very thick. You would not put this thread through your sewing machine, okay? That would be bad. The needle that you need, a thick needle. A between needle is like not quite right. You really need one of these thicker, fat needles. It's good. It's good to have a chubby needle there. And I think you're gonna need a thimble because you're going in and out of this fabric all the time, and you gotta push this needle through the fabric, and your little finger would hurt. It would hurt. So let's take a stitch, and first I'm gonna show you how to start. So we've got our floss. I'm gonna take off a piece, and you know, how much thread do you want to take off? Well, I mean, you don't want to keep threading your needle a bazillion times, but you know, really super long thread, it just gets tangled. You know, you don't want to do that. So I'm gonna use my needle threader here, and what you do, I'm gonna get this so this is real easy to see here, and your needle, you put the hook through first, then loop your thread like so, and then you just pull the needle across. It's much easier to thread your needle this way than to try to stick, you know, use your eyeballs. It's much easier than that. Okay, so now we're going to start, just take a couple stitches, and the way I would do this, you can use, like on a striped fabric, this might be a great way to practice. You can use the lines on your fabric or the motif in your fabric to guide how your stitching is going to go. Really, it's how your quilting is going to go. For this, for example, I'll just show you the lines on the fabric are used as like a parallel. So what I did was sort of put this down and use these stripes to make sure things were straight, and you just draw a few lines, you know, down the length of your fabric where you want your stitches. And so that, you know, ensured that I was getting a very straight line. And then you just use those lines as your guide as you're going along and stitching. Briefly, I'm gonna just show you another way to do it. Just using the motif of your fabric, go around in circles, but you can just use, you know, anything you see in your fabric can be a guide for how you want to do this, okay? So let your fabric be your guide. All right, so I'm gonna start in, I can kind of see a line there. I'm gonna push through and I want to put a knot in my thread. So I'm just knotting it one time. Okay, knotting it one time. And you want to pull it through, and just like in any other kinds of quilting, you want to bury your knot in between the layers. So I kind of come in here, in between the layers of your quilt, kind of get it out here so you can see, and you got to kind of pop it through, okay? Because then, when you take your stitch, you can bury, you're going to bury this in here a little bit and snip off the back. Just trim that back because the knot's safe inside the two layers. Okay, all that preparation, we're ready to take a stitch. Got my thimble on for the finger I'm pushing through with. I will try to do this semi-upside down. So the length of your stitch depends on what you want. You're taking a long stitch. I mean, it's like, you know, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch or something. And you come up through. Adorable, no? Then you go through here, come back up. And you know, this is a great thing to take to your guild meeting. What's really great about this sashiko look and this kantha technique, this kantha look, is that you get a very hand-worked piece. It looks like it's already been washed. It looks very cozy. When something's worked by hand, you can tell. And this is a really great way to start. If you've never done hand quilting, maybe start with a sashiko or a kantha technique. So hopefully you have seen enough to get you started. There's great online tutorials and blogs and things. So try this, be on trend, and you can say, I heard it here first on Quilty. Thanks.
Quilty is brought to you by
Baby Lock. Baby Lock sewing and long arm machines. From piecing to long arming for the love of sewing. Aurifil. Aurifil Italian thread. Perfectly suited for all your quilting projects. Dear Stella, a unique fabric brand with modern style. Fairfield, together we can make beautiful things. Hovels Sewing, cut to the point with Hovels Sewing. Moda, make something quilty with Moda fabrics. Northcott, cottons that feel like silk. Omnigrid, providing quilters with specialty rulers and accessories for over 30 years.